many dynamics to
So,
it.
yeah, we've been talking
It's
about our
expectations,
experiences.
it's access,
It
it's
goes back to
opportunity.
question one.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Partly the
Question one.
I'm gonna
Okay.
also say because you look like you're
Which
ready
is
to move
gonna
on.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
go ahead.
White people got some problems too now.
Oh, yeah.
So like the problem I have with the achievement gap is because we're comparing ourselves to something I think ain't all that great. They put on their pants
Yeah.
just like I put on my
That's
pants.
the truth.
Right?
Yeah.
They got 38. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get up to 50? That's supposed to make me feel good about myself? No.
Right.
We're not playing them games.
Right.
So they got their own problems, and they got a gap with Asian folk.
Right.
So we ain't going to sit up here and keep talking about achievement gap between us and whites. We got a gap between what our own expectations should be.
No, I agree. All right, so we're going to take another commercial break. This is a good dialogue. You are tuned in to Let's Go There with Cassandra. We are talking about race matters, achieving educational equity for students of color. We will be right back, y'all. Now, that's good.
When you have a growing family, other things in your life start getting bigger too, like your home.
Can't wait for the new jack! What?
And especially your bills.
That'll be $249.86.
Oh.
But with Allstate, the amount you can save is getting bigger too. Because right now, when you bundle coverage for your car, home, motorcycle, and more, you can save up to 30%.
Call Adrian Smiley today at 317-228-0707.
Family and Community Partners, LLC, is a private, community-based mental health care provider located at 3921 North Meridian Street, Suite 210, Indianapolis, Indiana. Formed in 2012, the partner clinicians of FCP have over 150 years of experience servicing at-risk youth and families throughout Marion County and Central Indiana. Family and Community Partners, LLC, partners with families and communities to deliver smart, sophisticated, and kind services to the least of these across Indiana. For more information about Family and Community Partners, visit them at familyandcommunitypartners.com or contact them at 317-252-5258.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a test bias. It's a cultural bias. Okay, and you are back. You are tuned in to Let's Go There with Cassandra. We are talking about race matters, achieving educational equity for students of color. Did anybody want to weigh in on anything else about that question about the opportunity gap versus the achievement gap before we move on?
Yeah, while we were away, one of the things I pointed out was, like, I grew up poor, and what my dad did for me was say, I expect you to do better. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was for me. So I was not achieving. I did not have anyone pushing me and saying I have a higher expectation for you than what you're delivering. So that was my lived experience.
Okay. Which goes back to the teacher being in the building, because for those students who may not have somebody at home to push them, then unfortunately the teacher and the administrator have to be the one to step in and kind of fill that role. And I know teachers feel like they're social workers, they feel like they're counselors, they feel like they're everything but a teacher. And the reality of it is, in 2020, that is probably true. You when you sign up to be a teacher, you probably do sign up to be that counselor, that mentor, and I think that needs to be expressed to people who are, students who are interested in going into teaching. Like, it's bigger than you just standing in the classroom and teaching. You are walking into a profession where you are there to serve and you are there to help. And if you don't want to do that, then you don't need to stand and get you don't need to be no teacher, black or white.
Is that fair?
But that's what
teachers?
every good teacher has always been.
It's always done?
That's
okay.
That's when I hear my parents talk about their teachers who they loved. I mean, they were all of that, and the teachers. Every good teacher does all of that.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, our students authentically know who those teachers are.
Yeah, they know who
and
care.
they don't care what color. And the color, sometimes in the color, I got white mamas that was teachers that said, you know what, you ain't going to football practice. You come back here and take this test that you failed. I don't care about you playing no football. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I had black teachers that was like, oh boy, just, So, and I love what Jones said earlier. He said quality.
Right.
High performing black
Yes.
teachers
Yes.
and administrators.
Yes.
And
And
white's
the same
the
with white.
same.
Yeah.
I think we have to uphold the profession because culturally the teacher is being under attack. They got movies, bad teacher, this,
Right.
So we're losing the integrity of the teaching profession,
Right.
I believe, and I think it's because we don't protect it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And social media has allowed us to shame teachers.
Right.
And it's not about the teacher; it's about the person. If you're a quality person who believes I'm called to help children
That's what I'm
maximize
saying.
their best potential,
Yeah,
there ain't no. I'm not going to allow you to fail. We're
Right.
going to push until
push.
you hit the mark.
But that's the key. And so it's like you said, it's not just black teachers. It goes for white teachers as well. And teachers are oftentimes the worst recruiters of other teachers because of how bad they talk about it is to be a teacher. And so we have to restore that honor back to being a teacher, because when you think about it, teachers are really probably the second most influential person in a child's life, because they spend the most outside of the parent. Outside the parent. Yeah. They spend the most time, with children. And so it has to be seen as, no, you are not just going to go stand in front of a classroom and teach 1 + 1 = 2. You have to have a heart to serve, and you have to have compassion, and you have to be genuinely caring about the well-being of our students, or you should not be a teacher.
Hasn't the white ed reform movement really done that attacking on the teaching profession? When you're looking at legislation at the General Assembly, when you're looking at when you're looking at like some of the arguments and the things that are put out there, the stuff that they're talking about, the fetishizing of the school leader over the teacher, I really feel that's been one of the major flaws of the ed reform movement in Marion County. But beyond that, the other point that I wanted to kind of dig into is it actually fair to expect a teacher to be a social worker and to wear all these hats? Shouldn't we be designing a system where we have the teacher teaching and you have a social worker or a nurse or whoever in the schools? Is that ideal, or are we still saying that the teacher profession is just what it is?
Even if those resources, and now I'm just speaking from my experience as a teacher.
Okay.
Even if those resources are readily accessible in the building, from start to finish of that instructional time that I have with that child in that classroom, I've got to be prepared to effectively wear those hats, or I'm going to spend more of my time sending the child to the additional resources.
Out of the classroom.
Is it fair?
Yeah.
I don't know any different.
Okay.
I don't know any different, and the most effective teachers that I've worked with and experienced all held all of those positions.
For sure.
And willingly. It was a skill and a will. They willingly held those positions. So,
Jones, you want to say anything before we move to the next
you need
question?
them both. You got to have them both. Those professionals are for something entirely different. Just don't forget, you're going to have trauma or things that come up on a daily, maybe monthly basis. The teacher is dealing with the minute by minute. There's the kid just looked at me funny, slapped me in the face. I didn't eat this morning. I might not have time to send you to the social worker. I send you to the social worker. She got to ask you, or he has to ask you some questions. But I got to teach you algebra right now, and I might not get you again until tomorrow, right? And so, I'm a math teacher. The way I looked at it was, and I'm a hip hop head, so I looked at it as I'm going into the classroom. I'm about to battle. And so I need to come up off this lyricism, and I'm going to go ahead and win this battle. As soon as I win this battle, what I'm winning is the favor of my children. I'm winning the favor of my children, and once I have them, then I can get them to learn algebra. Now, different ways I can learn the favor of my children. I learn their favor by the social status I have with them. I learn their favor by the way I'm speaking to them, by the way I'm building a relationship with them. But when I look at that day, I'm going into that battle preparing 8 Mile, Eminem, 50 Cent, whoever you want to say I am. My favorite right now is Nas, of course.
Okay. So Cassandra said I could ask a co-host question.
You're a co-host.
And I've always kind of wondered about this because I honestly don't understand. Teachers unions and ed reform, they have not mixed.
No.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh,
so this is
question. Money. That's why. It comes down to
because
money.
And the reason why I'm asking that is because I see
sign.
Teachers unions as protecting teachers,
yeah,
and giving them that security and the respect of the profession and things of that nature. And so, when I was saying that, the ed reform movement in Marion County has kind of undermined teachers, part of it was undermining. Now, well,
So
creating spaces where teachers unions weren't able to operate, but also the teachers union kind of imploded on itself too. So
I was actually going to say that when you said that the last time, I wouldn't say the attack was on teachers. I would say the attack was on teacher unions. And as I see it, I can only speak from my viewpoint. As I see it, there are collective bargaining agreements in place. Mm-hmm. Those agreements make it hard or difficult or challenging for school leaders and school professionals to enact certain changes within a school that we know are needed for our children.
Right.
Now, there are two options you have. You can go back to the table and collectively bargain again, which may not work, and you may end up in deadlock for the next 20 years, or you can work around the CBA by building a charter school or having an autonomous school. And I think that's what the ed reform movement has decided to do, because there have been many ed reform movements. Some have decided to fight the battle with the unions to make sure we can change certain things around. Okay. But I think the latest iteration is we're just going to work around it.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Money. Anybody else want to answer that question?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's money.
But I think money cheapens it, because it's like, yes, money, but also power.
Well, yeah, power. I mean, because it takes a lot to get a bad teacher out of a school because of the teachers union. Like, you cannot just fire a tenured teacher. You got to go through all kind of hoops. And so how's that affecting our kids? You have a lot of teachers who don't need to be in a classroom, but because they're part of the union, it's landlocked. I mean, it's that give and take. So anybody else want to, Marsha, you want to, Big Sis, you want to weigh in on that?
She's been in there, though.
Well, here's the thing. Well, as a teacher, I was a union rep. How about that?
No.
That was years ago, right? And so I have some understanding just because of the way in which school leadership was back in the day. I think now, and I may offend a lot of teachers out there, but I think we have, in any other profession, if you are in charge of the development of another individual, it is the expectation that you nurture them and equip them with access to perform their job, right? Mm-hmm. Which may involve you wear some different hats. If you don't, then you're just teaching them the skill of the job, right? So I think of it like this. My husband's a police officer, and when he was a field training officer years ago, he spent more time talking and working with those new recruits coming in, not about the job. How you doing? Where's your headspace? Where's all this? He was the counselor. Do I need to pick you up for work so that you can get there? He was the bus driver. So in any other profession, but when we talk about teachers, then it's, oh my goodness, we're putting so much on them. You know why? Because we keep masking the achievement piece. Nobody would have a problem if there weren't high stakes accountability on academic performance. That's just my belief.
Okay. Anybody? And I don't want to give teachers. We're not attacking teachers by no means.
Absolutely not.
Well, I love teachers, and I feel like they need support just like the students need support. So who's addressing their trauma? You know, they bring their own trauma every day to the classroom, so they got to deal with their trauma, and then they got to deal with the kids' trauma.
Those
and so my concern is,
adults,
like you said,
in some cases,
what'd you say?
I said those are some fully grown adults.
But it does not matter if you have not dealt with your trauma. And you come to that classroom, that's going to spill over how you treat them kids. And I'm just saying that
jump in on that too, because
we're
getting ready to see a significant shift.
It needs to be had, though.
It does. I agree with my man, but baby boomers are getting ready to leave profession, right?
Marshawn.
At numbers.
The chancellor over there asked you about your trauma.
He did not.
I'm just asking.
But here's the thing. But I see what you're saying. But at the same, we cannot neglect the fact that because we have put teachers in this position to deal with so much, that I mean, you asking a sane person that's going to eventually crack. Because again, if they have not, I'm speaking from myself. Okay, I used to have the desire to be in the classroom, and I can tell you, if I had not dealt with my trauma, by the time I student taught at Northwest for a whole semester, and I had seniors, and I would have lost my mind. because now I understand as a person, I have to be whole. I can't give from an empty cup. And so I can't expect to just be pushed my trauma aside and go stand in front of these kids and say, this is what you do. So what I'm saying is teachers need, if we want them to stay, we talk about teacher retention, then we need to empower them and equip them to stay. And that means helping them deal with their trauma as they deal with the kids' trauma.
So I'm going to be...
That's educating the leader.
It is.
Because the best person to attend to a teacher's trauma in order to help them get through